Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. Today is Wednesday, and that means Passageway of the Ancients has finally been released. I want to say up front, this is a sponsored video. It's not a review, it's not even an impressions, so I'm not going to go through a list of all the things I like or dislike about the experience. This is just about walking you through some general information to help you make a decision about whether or not you want to play this game. If you decide you want to buy this game, there's a Steam link down in the description that you can use. I don't get any money from that, but it does allow the company to track how many people are actually forwarded towards the game. So I would really appreciate it if you decided to purchase this, if you will go ahead and use that link. The developer of this experience is Passageway Games, a 4-person studio based in Texas. And together, they have more than 50 years of history making RPGs. It's no surprise then that Passageway of the Ancients is inspired by classic cRPGs from the 90s, such as Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale. If you love those games, this experience should absolutely be up your alley. So what is the story of this game? It places you in the world of Arion, the galaxy's sole remaining magical planet. And you're going to be playing as a member of the Dragonkindt. Now, Dragonkindt are part angelic, part shapeshifter, and part dragon, but the general public is completely unaware of their existence. Consequently, you'll always have two faces: the Dragonkindt face, which is your true one, and then another face you'll choose during character creation, either human, elf, or dwarf, which is the face that the general public is going to see. I honestly love this because it allowed me to feel like I was walking around with a whole party of Dragonborn. This investigation is going to require you to visit a host of different locales, all of which have a wide variety of enemies, from goblins to satyrs to golems. There will also be lots of opportunity to pick up new gear and loot. Lockpick doors and chests are everywhere. And there are a lot of runic puzzles where you'll have to figure out what specific word is needed in order to unlock them. Now, some of the puzzles give you a little bit of help. When you place a letter down, if it's completely faded, that means it doesn't fit. If it's in purple, that means the letter does fit, but it's not in the right place. And then if it's in bright gold, that's your clue that you have the exact right letter in the exact right place. There are other puzzles that do not provide these hints, and you either know the exact word to unlock it or you don't, and have to do some more investigation in the general area. There are a lot of these puzzles sprinkled around, and I actually found it quite a bit of fun to figure some of them out. All right, with all that being said, let's go ahead and dive into character creation. When you start a new game, you're going to briefly have a cutscene, and then you'll come into this menu. Of course, you could choose your name, and then the next choice you can choose is difficulty: standard, strategic, or expert. I definitely found this to be a difficult game on even strategic, and I didn't have an option to change my difficulty. That option might be included in the version of the game that you receive, but just regardless, when you're on this screen, definitely make sure you choose the exact difficulty that you want. Sex is male or female, and then when it comes to race type, you can be a human, elf, or a dwarf. If you choose human, you have different ethnicities, which will change your skin color, which is not an option in just the general customization. So this is the only place that you can do it. Elves and dwarves have no ethnicities, so you are stuck with the skin color that you see. You also have a couple of different options regarding what hair color you want to use and the style, but obviously that's not really the focus of the game, so you don't have a ton of different options. Now, for class, you've got 5 different options. Cleric, of course, is the class that can use the melee weapons and heavy armor, along with being able to use healing magic. Paladins are also available. They have an even larger martial focus, and they can use healing magic along with having some summoning abilities as well. Sentinel is essentially a combination of both mage and melee. I've never seen a Sentinel class outside of Mass Effect, to be honest, so it's kind of cool here. And it looks like they can definitely do some cool stuff. Mage, obviously, is just all out spell casting. It's all out evocation in this game. So your spells that you're going to use will be all about damaging the enemies. And then finally, there's Rogue, which is all about the skullduggery, so stabbing enemies in the back, lockpicking, things of that nature. Some of the chests and doors that you encounter have very high lockpicking ranks, so it's really nice having a rogue in the party. I specifically played as a paladin, which was really cool. And the customization options, you can absolutely make yourself a massive bruiser. And I pretty much went all out with it. I'll probably throw in some footage that shows you all what my character looked like, but it was amazing. I had a ton of fun walking around being this basic mammoth of a human being. I also spent some time as a mage, and that was a lot of fun as well, throwing down magic spells. I actually, to be honest with you, had a better time with mage than I even did with paladin. Throwing down spells on enemies is so cool, and in a lot of fights you're going to be surrounded by multiple foes, so being a mage who can lay down spells that impacts multiple enemies is really going to help you. Now, as far as the attributes, most of them do what you would expect. Strength is going to assist you with your attack damage. Dexterity increases your chance of hitting an enemy all the way around. So dexterity is actually beneficial regardless of what class you have, but it's especially going to benefit a rogue since it increases their chance of dodging. And then, of course, constitution is going to increase your health and stamina. Intelligence is going to increase your spell damage and grant you additional mana, and it contributes to dodging for rogues, which is kind of interesting. And then for mages, when it comes to both intelligence and willpower, high ranks are going to allow you to ward off some of the damage that will come your way. So not only is it going to make you offensively better, it'll also make you a little bit more tanky. Willpower represents your ability to regenerate health, mana, and stamina. So again, it actually helps all characters. And of course, again, it makes your mages a little bit more tanky. Wisdom is going to give additional mana pool for both paladins and clerics. And then finally, charisma is going to increase a rogue's mana pool. Really awesome. I haven't seen any options for diplomacy or intimidation or things of that nature. So I don't think charisma really represents your character's ability to convince people to do things and dialogue. I believe it's strictly about the mechanics, at least from what I've seen thus far. At character creation, you're going to get 3 free points that you can use, but you also have the ability to lower all of your attributes down to 8. So you can really go crazy with them if you want to. There's no hard lock against going past 20. And as far as I can tell, there's no particular benefit to having even numbers for your attributes. It's just a straight status bonus, so a stat bonus rather. So you can go crazy and do this however you would prefer. All right, now since we've just went over the classes, let's also talk about the skill trees. When you come to the skill vendor, you'll be able to talk with her. And then you'll come to this menu where you can select the character who you want to be able to train. Now, each character has access to different skill trees. For example, Praetor is a cleric. He has access to the abjuration skill tree, which will give you options in protection and enchantment. And then he also has access to conjuration, which will give you options in restoration and summoning. So all of the characters have at least one, and then some of the characters have 2 skill trees. So Galanor is a paladin. He has options in either confrontation, which will allow you to get higher levels in armor and weapons, or conjuration. He also has it, restoration and summoning. Helia is a rogue. She only has manipulation. So it's going to give you essence, which is going to do things like lock picking, trap setting, things of that nature, or illusion, which is going to help you to be able to trick and confuse enemies. And then finally, I have Gimli, who is my mage. He has options in evocation, which is going to give you order and chaos, but really it's all about damaging enemies. And then actually, I was wrong. He actually does have manipulation. So you do get some options as a mage as far as crowd control, and you can focus on being able to set traps and unlock items if that's what you wanted to do with your mage. Now, for each one of these characters and their skills, you need both gold and skill points in order to be able to unlock them. And even though I don't see it here, the tutorial said that for some skills, there will be an attribute requirement. So sometimes you'll have the gold and the skill points, but your attributes might not be high enough to select a particular skill. So I'm level 3. I got 2 levels back to back. So I believe that probably means you get 20 skill points for every level, along with 3 attribute points that you can put where you like. So with this, I think what I really want to get to is Fireball. So I'm going to go ahead and get Fireball. So you see that costs 5 silver and 10 of my skill points. And then they're also going to let me get Fireball. Fantastic. And I still have 15 left, but that doesn't allow me to get Meteor, and it certainly doesn't allow me to get Meteor Storm. So I'll go ahead and probably hold it here. Now, when you're going to use attribute points, it works the same way. You need free points that you can place. So let's put a couple more into willpower, and then I'll put the rest into intelligence. When you hit apply, it's also going to charge you a certain amount of silver. So for 6 points, I had to put in 90 silver. I don't know if it costs more based on how high your attribute points are. But you can click yes, and then you have to do that for each one of your characters. Now the vendor is on the world map. So if you go outside, it's going to give you a map of the city of Ithgar, which is where your parents' residency is placed. So this is going to allow you to bounce to a bunch of different locations that'll have interesting things that you need. At the Gilded Griffin, you can hear about rumors and buy certain things. The Emporium is going to give you herbs, food, and potions. The Smithy is going to give you armor and shields. Magnar is going to give you magical objects, etc., etc. But then you can leave Ithgar and you'll get the global map, which is going to show you all of the different areas that you'll be able to visit throughout the game. Thus far, I have the city of Ithgar, and I have my parents' residency. Now, if I go ahead and click back into the residency, I'll be able to return to that location. And then you're going to see that I have this portal down here. Now, the way Passageway of the Ancients works is that you're going to encounter long dungeons where you'll gain multiple levels and have a ton of gold and gear that needs to be sold. And you really don't want to clear the entire dungeon in just one go. So in order to make it easy for you to get back, they give you an artifact called a shadow gate. Now, you can lay down 2 gates at any one time. So I have a shadow gate here at my parents' residency that makes it very easy for me to get back and go to any of the towns or areas that I need to go to. And then I also have a second gate deployed at the last area I was in. You can only have 2 gates deployed at any period of time. So it basically provides an easy way for you to jump back here whenever you like and go about your business. There's no limitation, as far as I can tell, about where you could place your gate. The only thing is they won't allow you to use your gate while you are in dragon form. So you need to be out of dragon form in order to be able to transfer back, because they basically say there's a potential that there's somebody around the gate you're about to transport to who would see you, and you cannot be discovered. Speaking of which, I thought some of you might be interested to see what dragon form looks like. So that's what it looks like when all of them have been transformed. Their actual portraits do not change, but the figures, they're all going to get horns, and claws and things of that nature. So it's definitely cool stuff. Speaking of which, when you go into the inventory screen, you're going to be able to see all the items that you currently have equipped, along with all the items in your storage. Each character has their own individual storage. So if you're looking at a character, but you want somebody else to have the item that they have, you've got to drag it over, drop it to them, and then that other character will have access to it. You can also see all the character stats. So strength, dexterity, weapon, armor, damage, and then it'll also show you their health, regeneration, any effects that they have on them, things of that nature. You'll also see their class in the upper left. And then finally, you can choose their sequence. So in the formation, you can choose what order the characters are going to go in. And then there are a couple of formation options. There doesn't appear to be one that allows you to set up a custom formation, but you can choose these general options and then the order in which they fall for those options. And it'll give you some flexibility about how your party is going to approach combat. And then you also have combat options. So if you click on this option to the left of your portrait, it's going to come up with this menu. Now, this menu is all about giving you a great deal of versatility in regards to how you approach combat. Let's start with a melee character, right? So this is my cleric. The first option you see here is level. This says, what level do you attack at? If you attack high, it's going to be very easy for you to hit flying creatures and tall creatures. But if you're facing rats, for instance, a lot of your attacks are going to miss. Whereas if you attack low, it'll be the exact opposite. You'll easily hit rats and low creatures, but flying creatures and taller creatures, you might have a lot more trouble with. So sometimes you're going to have to adjust this based on the types of enemies that you are facing. And there is a clone to party option. So whenever you select this, you can just ensure that everybody is doing the same thing. Now there's also form. So if you use a rigid attack, you're going to see here that it's going to reduce the speed a great deal and slightly increase the miss chance, and you're going to get 0% offhand damage. Whereas if you decided to do a more fluid attack, you will be a little bit less guarded, but you're going to do more damage with your offhand weapon, and you're going to have significantly more speed. So it gives you some options as far as how you want this particular character to approach things. Now, style is the same thing. You can do a probe attack, which is going to be quick, but it's going to deal less damage, or you can do a cut, or you can go deep, which is going to take longer, but is going to deal greater damage, and it's going to be more impactful when you are facing heavily armored foes. So what kind of enemies are you facing? And just as importantly, what type of character is this? And then finally, stroke. So a thrust is going to be short and quick to complete, whereas a cut is going to do more damage, but it's also going to take longer to complete. So as you can see, this is going to give you a ton of flexibility as far as how fast does your party attack and how much damage do they do. And again, you can either clone these settings to everybody, or you can manually select them for each character to give them their own unique setup. You also have combat readiness, which determines how quickly your different party members are going to engage in combat. So are they reckless and they're just going to jump right in, or are they calm and they'll really only attack enemies if they feel like they absolutely have to? Now, mages work a little bit differently. The first option you'll see here is autocast. So if you wanted to, you could select the spell that this character would automatically use when they're in combat. And then the first option you have is intonation. With a high intonation, it's going to use up more of your mana. but it's also going to allow you to deal a greater amount of damage. And you see, I have that on high. I feel like my character manages mana relatively well, so I want the cast time down as low as possible, and I don't mind paying a higher cost, especially for the increase in damage. Now, there's also mechanics, which is going to determine your casting speed and damage. So if you have a basic mechanics, then you're going to get significantly less cast time, and you're going to have a significant increase in speed, but no increases to damage. Whereas if you use a complex spell, you're going to get less speed, there's going to be more cast time, but the damage is going to be increased. So what is more important to you? For me, I want the spell out as fast as possible, so I go with basic. And then finally, phrasing. Fast phrasing can allow you to cast a fast moving fireball in a shorter amount of time. Whereas if you're using slow phrasing, it'll do the exact opposite. But that can be useful because it can make a temporary buff or area effect spell last longer. What kind of magic user do you have? What's most important to you? So keep in mind then, with some characters, you'll have to look at both. How do they use magic and how do they use melee? Just gives you an absolute ton of flexibility and how you approach combat. Very, very cool stuff. And that's the video. That's the information that I have regarding Passageway of the Ancients. I really enjoyed my time with the game. I love the old Baldur's Gate games, and honestly, I plan to play even more of those older cRPGs, so this was right up my alley. Once again, there's a Steam link down below for you to purchase the game. If you do decide to buy it, I'd really appreciate it if you use that link. Let me know what you think of it. Hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.